Ladies and gentlemen, Jim Jordan is essentially blocking, in a political sense, the indictment of Trump, or the conviction or prosecution of Trump, and also the public relations spin by Democrats. They're trying to say Trump is a menace in New York, but New York crime rates have soared. The rebuttal is, oh, well, now do Ohio. What a stupid rebuttal, because you have similar crime rates when you're talking about whether it's 4.8 or 5.6 percent or 5.6 per 100,000. They did this the past couple of years. They distort numbers, and it's all relative. Even if Ohio has a higher crime rate, you have to look at Democratic-run cities in Ohio. Democratic mayors in Ohio, Democratic mayors all throughout southern states preside over the greatest atrocities and the greatest crime rates. Okay, so you can have a red state where you look where is the most crime or the most, criminal activity. It will be within urban areas controlled by the Democratic Party. So it does no good. Even when you try to point the finger at a red state or Jim Jordan, you look a little deeper into the numbers and you see that, yeah, okay, where's most of the crime taking place? Well, within Democratic-run areas of the red state. In this case, in New York City, they're trying to say, oh, it's 50 or 60% more higher crime rate in Ohio. New York is run by Democrats. The places with the highest crime rates in Ohio are run by Democrats. I think 28 of the 30 most dangerous cities in America have Democratic mayors. I believe that is those are the numbers. The poverty rate is highest. Whenever you can look at where Democratic mayors preside, you will see the poverty rate the highest in the country, no matter if it's a red state or a blue state, or the poverty rate higher than the state average. Okay? And you will then there will be a correlation between the high poverty rate that a Democratic mayor or governor, but a Democratic mayor is presiding over, which correlates to the high crime rates that a Democratic mayor is presiding over, whether it's a red state or a blue state. The whole point is to shine a light on the fact that New York is more unsafe, is about as chaotic as it's been since the 70s, more chaotic, more violent than at any point since the early 80s, late 70s, okay, or middle 70s. So what Rudy Giuliani did in the 90s is make sure that New York became safe again, that tourists went back to New York, okay? You're not only losing tourism in New York, but you're losing people who live in the city and the state. Same with California. New Yorkers are moving to red states. People in red states are not moving to New York or California. The opposite is true. So you can look at numbers, and the numbers show what Jim Jordan is doing is he's saying, look, you're trying to indict Trump. You're fabricating a crime. There is no crime that existed. The FEC didn't find a federal crime. You're trying desperately to knock out the 24 nominee for president, and then you're saying, and then you're ignoring the rampant criminality in states and cities that crack down on the Second Amendment. Again, they're undermining their own cause. They're dissing themselves, as always, Democrats, in only the manner that Democrats can do. They crack down on the Second Amendment, and they have comparable crime rates or higher crime rates. So if you want to say, well, Ohio has a higher crime rate. Okay, well, which cities? Who are the mayors in those cities? Okay. And what's the poverty rate of those cities? Democrats preside over a great deal of poverty in the country, which correlates directly to a great deal of crime. Okay? And if you want to talk about homicide rates, they're just as high or higher than red states in cities that crack down on the Second Amendment, because The Washington Post, I believe, is University of Pennsylvania, University of Pittsburgh. There have been studies. It's very simple. It's not. You don't even really need a grandiose study. Felons or repeat offenders commit most of the crimes with firearms. It doesn't matter whether you have laws banning the Second Amendment or not, because criminals don't care, or in some cases, people who are not criminals who have to just survive or protect themselves. So I'm not going to say that everyone who, who obtains a firearm in a blue city, in a Democratic-run city that doesn't allow that, okay, is like, for example, you can look, one of the greatest receivers of all time, one of my favorite football players of all time, Plaxico Burress in New York. Okay, New York should never have sent him to prison, ever. Okay, that was typical Democratic Party nonsense, just trying to make a spectacle over a terrible situation. This is a lesson on life. Here is Plaxico Burress, one of the greatest receivers of all time. I think a Hall of Famer, in my view, if you look at his aggregate career. And he accidentally shoots himself at a club, but he's carrying in a city that doesn't allow people to carry, but people will carry anyway. He's not a criminal. He was never a criminal. He never did anything wrong, but New York made him serve time. The Democrats in New York did that to prove a point, not to protect the city. But that case alone shows you don't even have to be a criminal or a repeat offender to obtain a firearm and, heaven forbid that unfortunate incident takes place. But free will reign supreme. That is just one example of a person who's not a criminal, a person who just decided to protect himself because he was, at a nightclub and he was a millionaire and he wanted to protect himself and, because maybe there were people around that, could do him harm. Generally, though, in Democratic-run cities, the crime rates are comparable or higher. So when you have Democrats, like the New Republic article here, like, expert witness throws Jim Jordan's latest troll job into hilarious disarray. You shouldn't even have the similar homicide rate in New York or crime rates in New York as Ohio, even if you want to say, red state has more homicides. Well, I thought that all the laws banning the ownership, okay, you can just deal with the algorithm. I'm dealing with the algorithm here. So curbing the Second Amendment in New York, shouldn't that make people safer? It doesn't. It doesn't at all. Because like I said, there could be people who just want to protect themselves, but generally most of the crimes are committed by repeat offenders, people with a career in criminality, career criminals who don't care about laws. Just like if you wanted to ban alcohol during the Prohibition, there were speakeasies all throughout New York and Chicago. Just like there are people all throughout New York, Chicago, and every other Democratic-run state that if they choose to commit a crime, they'll do so with a firearm, whether or not you ban it or not. And the law-abiding citizen is now criminalized for defending himself or herself. But see, again, like the way Democrats have a very vapid, sophomoric view of numbers and stats and data. They look at something, they don't look too deeply into it, and they say, we're right. And it's like, no, actually, 80% of the people who lost their lives from you-know-what were over 65. Why did you shut down all of society? Why? You didn't do so for the people over 65. Why did you shut down all of the economy? Why? Anyway, to protect the people over 65 with numerous health conditions, which were 80% of the people who perished. Okay, so, again, they look at data. They don't see how it actually hurts their own cause. They don't see how they diss themselves with these numbers and data. And it's like, anyway, give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right now. Jim Jordan is shining a light on the all the criminality taking place in New York and proving that what they're doing to Trump is purely political. Give me your thoughts. Thank you.